Happy New Year, man. God.
Over the past few years, the landscape of hip-hop has been drastically changing, led by the charge of Griselda Records. Westside Gunn, Conway the Machine, and Benny the Butcher have reshaped the idea of what popular hip-hop looks like going into its 6th decade, ushering in a new movement that rewards realness and authenticity over conformity and clout chasing. Griselda now has almost a dozen members, but the brand is a product of the genius mind of one man, Westside Gunn. Gunn, his brother Conway, and their cousin Benny the Butcher were born and raised in Buffalo, New York, a city that's known for decades of violent crime and gang violence. The three of them, along with Benny's brother Machine Gun Black, also known as Sheen Gun, were in a crew back in their high school days called the Forerunners, and they all started their rap careers in the early 2000s, forming another crew in that decade called Street Entertainment. Gunn's album Flyest in Charge was released in 2005, but unfortunately he ended up going to prison the following year after pleading guilty to a weapons charge. This unfortunately put a halt to Gunn's rapping career, and when he was released a few years later, he decided to put down the mic and manage the career of his brother Conway, who at the time was known by names like Cannon, Homicide Cannon, Loose Cannon, Killer Angel, and Jimmy Conway. Conway's career was picking up steam in 2012, so we flew from Atlanta, where he was living at the time, back up to Buffalo, with the hopes of getting a French Montana verse. Unfortunately, tragedy struck while he was up there, when he was shot in the head and shoulder one night, almost killing him and leaving half of his face paralyzed with Bell's palsy. After the shooting, while Conway was in recovery, Westside Gunn realized that it would be a long time before Conway could start rapping again, so Gunn decided to pick back up the microphone and restart his own rap career. At the time, Gunn says that he hadn't rhymed for the past 6 or 7 years before that, but any rust he had didn't show when he released Hitler Wears Hermes in October of 2012, a mixtape that unofficially starts off the Griselda run that is running hip-hop today. Griselda Records didn't officially start until around 2015, but Westside Gunn originally started it up as a fashion brand called Fashion Rebels. Throughout his whole career, Westside Gunn has been just as much focused on fashion and art as he is into hip-hop. His whole image is about crossing high-class art with what society deems as lower-class imagery. He has a mix of designer clothes and streetwear in his wardrobe. His obsession with art is just as much about the work inside the gallery as well as the graffiti on the wall outside, and this all translates to his music. His ear for production is pristine, always setting the backdrop for his songs as a scene of luxury, but his rap style is the complete opposite, lyrically detailing a life of crime with his unusually high voice that can be almost immediately off-putting to the listener. And on top of this, possibly what he's most known for, his ad-libs, which range from onomatopoeia gun sounds to this sort of annoying crooning, oftentimes overshadows the actual words in his verses, but for some reason, it just all makes sense. This set of ingredients that Westside Gunn has perfected is one of my favorite things in hip-hop right now, and has given us numerous classic records over the past few years. His style may be an acquired taste for some, but once you get into it, there's no turning back. In 2015, Gunn and Conway linked up officially for the collaborative projects Hall & Nash as well as Griselda Ghost. Conway and his brother are the perfect hip-hop duo, with Gunn providing the vibe and Conway bringing the top-tier lyricism. Griselda is named after the infamous Colombian drug lord Griselda Blanco, who is known as La Madrina, the Black Widow, and the Cocaine Godmother. Her notorious legacy is perfect for the image and reputation that Gunn and company have built. While a few of the other projects I've mentioned might technically be the first few albums under Griselda Records, Conway's 2015 album Reject 2 is where Griselda became fully formed. The album, which features some of the best rapping of the decade, is executive produced by Westside Gunn and is fully produced by Daringer. I know I haven't mentioned him much in this video yet, but it cannot be understated how important Daringer is to the style and success of Griselda. Daringer has been producing in the Buffalo scene since around 2005, and started working with the Griselda boys way back on Hitler Wears Hermes 1. As what often happens with producers, it seems that Daringer doesn't often get enough credit when talking about the Griselda movement. But don't get it twisted, he is just as important, if not more important than the other three members. El Camino, who isn't on the label anymore, released 3 projects between 2017 and 2019 under the Griselda umbrella, and helped show that the Griselda name could become much more than a family affair. Back in the early days of the label, Mach-Hommy released possibly his best record, HBO, under Griselda. After the release of the Don't Get Scared Now EP, Mach unfortunately left the label after a misunderstanding between the God Fahim and Westside Gunn, but he returned in 2021 to team back up with Westside Gunn and drop one of his best projects, Pray for Haiti. Conway the Machine and Westside Gunn's cousin Benny the Butcher is the third and final piece of the main Griselda trio. He officially joined Griselda with 2017's Butcher on Steroids, but he's been building a following in Buffalo since the early 2000s. Benny, which stands for Best Ever in New York, released his first mixtape Tana Talk when he was on house arrest back in 2004. Benny is the traditionalist of the group, channeling a young Jay-Z with his tales of coke deals and crime. His addition to Griselda was necessary because he brings the balance between Gunn and Conway's two extremes of the Griselda sound, with just some good old-fashioned bars and delivery that makes sure that you pay attention to what he's saying. One of the most impressive things about Griselda is their output. Each of their artists make sure their fans are always happy, dropping a large quantity of albums every year, all while never sacrificing the quality of the work. I've seen people put Westside Gunn in the category of having one of the greatest discographies of all time, just off the strength of his past decade. Fly God, which is often thought of as Gunn's best, has one of the most stacked feature lists of the decade, rocking verses from Rock Marciano, Action Bronson, Danny Brown, Your Old Droog, Mayhem Loren, Mach-Hommy, Skyzoo, and more. And Supreme Blientel somehow even tops that, with verses from Jadakiss, Busta Rhymes, Anderson .Paak, Elzai, and production from Pete Rock, Sadu Gold, Harry Fraud, Rock Marciano, Static Selecta, Ninth Wonder, The Alchemist, and of course, Derringer. Gunn's lyricism often gets some flack, and while he isn't quite on the level of his Griselda co-stars, he's constantly held his own with some of the greatest rappers of all time, often taking control of the track. In 2018, Benny released the third entry in the series that started off his rap career, Tana Talk 3. Simply put, this is one of the best projects of the last decade. The beats from The Alchemist and Derringer are cinematic, feeling vintage and fresh at the same time. And Benny's delivery is something to behold. With his vivid wordplay and expert delivery, this is a legacy-defining album to me. The cover of the album is a painting of Benny's older brother, Machine Gun Black, who was tragically killed in 2006. Machine Gun Black, also known as Sheen Gun, was immortalized with 2019's Griselda group album, What Would Sheen Gun Do?, which is sort of a victory lap for the group as they reach newfound success and reminisce about their family member and friend, who they all state would have been here with them today in Griselda had he not passed away. 2019 was possibly the most important year for Griselda. Along with What Would Sheen Gun Do?, Benny released The Plugs I Met and Statue of Limitations, Conway released Organized Grime, Look What I Became, and Everybody Is Food 3, and Westside Gunn released Fourth Rope, Hitler Wears Hermes 7, and Fly God Is an Awesome Guy. These releases all seemed to come out at the perfect time, and each propelled the group further into the spotlight, gaining more and more traction with each one, and they were only just beginning. In 2020, the group claimed their crown on the top of hip-hop. Conway finally released his debut studio album, From King to a God, and Westside Gunn released what is my favorite album of his, Pray for Paris. Pray for Paris is the perfect blend of Gunn's high-fashion mind with his grittier mafioso rap style. I've made a full video on this album, so definitely check that out if you want to know more. But even since I released that, my thoughts on it have only grown fonder. With this album along with his two other projects from that year, Gunn fully embraced what he does best and became a master curator. On every project that he curates, he is the perfect ear to know who would be the best on every track and what's needed most. By this time, Griselda is far from just an underground cult favorite. They have fully infiltrated the mainstream, signing a deal with Shady Records in March of 2017 and a management deal with Roc Nation in August of 2019. Gunn and Conway have appeared on Kanye West's album Donda, and there has even been rumors circulating over the past few years of a potential Drake collaboration with Benny the Butcher. And they did it all without a true blueprint of how to get it done. All of the main players in Griselda are from Buffalo, New York, a place where no hip-hop artist has ever made it before. To find a musician who really broke through from Buffalo, you have to go all the way back to Rick James. The legacy of Griselda is far from over. Over the past few years, they have steadily been building up their roster, and now looking at it, they probably have the most talented crop in all of hip-hop right now. Keisha Plum is another important part of the Griselda sound, blessing many of the label's classic albums over the years with her one-of-a-kind spoken word poetry. And since 2020, Griselda has added the monotone mastery of Boldy James, the up-and-comer from Atlanta YN Billy, the First Lady of Griselda Armani Caesar, one of rap's 2021 MVP candidates Rome Streets, and also has enlisted the artist who I feel is the future of the underground, in Stove God Cooks. Since the start of their careers, Griselda has done nothing but continue to grow and change the culture with them, and they have shown no signs of slowing down. Conway is set to release his latest album, God Don't Make Mistakes, later this month. Benny has Tana Talk 4 coming out very soon, and if history is any indication, then Griselda probably has at least a half dozen other projects coming our way this year too. Westside Gunn and Griselda aren't the creators of this wave. That title would probably go to Rock Marciano, but they certainly are the ones who helped propel this movement into a new stratosphere. They already have music with Kanye and J. Cole, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had songs with Nas, Jay-Z, Drake, and Kendrick before the end of the year. People are always arguing who's the best rapper in Griselda, and who has the best discography, and there's really no right answer. They all are incredible, and each bring their own unique flavor to the table. So as long as Griselda is making music, I'm gonna sit back and be grateful that I get to experience this in real time. In 20 years, when we look back and talk about what was the most important thing in hip-hop in the early 2020s, we aren't gonna be talking about Gunna or DaBaby, we're gonna be talking about Griselda. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, if you did like the video and want to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, that is always appreciated. Let me know down in the comments who was your favorite member of Griselda and what is your favorite Griselda album. Thank you to all the producers who provided beats for this video. I'll put all their information in the video description, so definitely check them out. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want to see more, or if you want to talk about music in any way. My DMs are always open, so feel free to hit me up. If all goes well, I should have videos on Master Ace and the God Fahim coming at you very soon, plus a lot more, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching.